Welcome back. Who's ready for part 3? I'm just gonna jump right in. Hopefully you've, I guess, watched parts 1 and 2. Part 2 is uploading as we speak. I really do hope that this will take less than 90 minutes to finish up, because I would rather not have to go on to a part 4. I think like 4+ hours of me stash diving and talking about Mirabilia should hold some of you for a little while. I'm sorry, my dog's very interested again. Hopefully she'll settle down soon. Okay, let's go. I am in my fancy, in case you aren't watching them back to back, I'm in my ladies section of Mirabilias. And we're just gonna keep going. So, Scent of Old Roses. This is MD54. I have this as a finish. Love her. I love the Mirabilias where they really evoke like emotion from me. And like I feel like I can feel what the person's feeling. And like I feel like I feel that. I know that feeling. I know that like memory taking you back somewhere. My dog is gonna, she's like nose punching the stand. My camera's on. Sorry, you're rocking around a little bit. I love her. She was fun to stitch. She was so colorful. I actually stitched her just strictly top down. I stitched her on a similar but not the same fabric. Mine is more green and less kind of drab brown. But she was really fun. Oh, so when I stitched her, and I do this kind of a lot, I did not use the Whisper. I have not used Whisper yet, although I have plenty of charts that call for it. When I do use it for the first time, I think I'm going to follow the advice of Julie, Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World. She suggested doing the bottom leg with, so if you're using like the white Whisper, doing the bottom leg with just white DMC and only doing the top leg with the Whisper. And I think that sounds like really good advice. So that's what I'm going to try to do. My dog's going to hit the stand again. Sorry. I feel like I need to just let her do it, so hopefully she'll like go lay down somewhere. But this one I felt like really didn't need the Whisper, and I didn't want to have to even try. So I just substituted white where it called for the Whisper. Okay. Garden Party I love. I have it kitted up. Have not started it. I love that the two figures having such very different and very just beautiful, luscious dresses. I love the lanterns hanging down. I think that's fantastic. You can imagine a million different scenarios for what kind of party this is and what those two ladies are talking about. So I hope to get to stitch to that one day. Stargazer would have to be my favorite ever. I've shown her, I have her as a finish. She's hanging on her wall. So I've talked about her quite a bit before. I did stitch her on just like a neutral, like natural linen background fabric. That's because for me, I didn't like the idea of stitching her on a darker or like gray or gray blue background because I felt like it would blend too much with the dress. And there's a lot of people who have used those darker fabrics, and I've really loved how they look. But for the most part, those people have also converted the dress. So the dress isn't the same colors, which I think helps it look better on the darker and like bluish background fabric. I would like to stitch her again someday, convert her dress. I have some ideas on what I'd like to do. Don't know if I'll ever get to actually doing it in practice, but I've had fun planning it. If I do ever get to doing that conversion, certainly you guys will see it on my Flosstubes. But that's Stargazer MD88. I seem to remember her being extremely popular when she came out. I feel like I saw her everywhere, and she's the one that I decided to stitch only in time. This was before children. I decided to stitch it only during time I was spending with my husband, because we used to like sit around at night and put on an audiobook, and he would like study or grade papers because he was studying for his PhD. I was working full time, but we didn't have kids, so my like evenings and weekends were free. So we would like put on an audiobook, he'd do his schoolwork, and I would just sit and stitch and listen to the audiobook. And so I only pulled this out when we were hanging out together. I never stitched it by myself. I used to travel a lot for work, so like I wouldn't take this with me. I'd take other things with me. So I just loved that by the end of it, like not only is she beautiful, she represents time spent with my husband, and I love that about her. Ashley's Roses, I have as a whip that I've barely put any stitches into. I had just started it, and then I actually ended up, this is a piece that I purchased a shop model. It was relatively inexpensive from a shop near me that was shutting down. So I don't know if I'll ever finish stitching her. She's beautiful though, I really like her. But I have the completed piece hanging on my wall. I just didn't stitch it. It's MD number 40. I love the dress. I love the like peeking of the gingham out underneath, the two different shades of gingham. I think she's lovely. Charlotte. This is MD 112. I have her as a whip. She's just fun. She's so colorful. She reminds me of, I had like a barrette as a kid that had like, it was like a barrette and it had like ribbons streaming off of it that were these colors. And I loved that barrette. I wonder where it is now. I really loved that barrette. I just love her funky colors, and she has so many beautiful leaves and charms in her hair. I can get to focus. She's got lots of them. And I think this is the first time I've seen this on a chart where they actually show you like the shape of the charm, which I think is kind of, at least for some of them, I think is kind of cool, or the treasures rather, because if they do become unavailable, maybe you have a better idea of their like shape. I don't know if they're to scale or not. I don't know if they're like true size. That's Charlotte, MD 112. Oh, whoop. Elizabeth in the Lavender Sky. This I also have as a kit, so I have it kitted up and ready to start. I think I already switched out the fabric. This is MD 10. I don't know that I've ever seen this one. I'd like to stitch it. It looks like a lovely stitch to me. I love the colors in it. There's like fruits and flowers in the corners. I love like the stonework and stuff. I think she's really lovely. Again, if you've stitched her, please direct me to where I can see a copy of the finish. I think she's beautiful. Elizabeth in the Lavender Sky from 1995. It's number 10. We've all seen this one. Princess Eliana. She's one I bought too many copies of by accident. We've all seen her. I mean, maybe 30 years from now, I have her kitted up, but like maybe 30 years from now when I don't feel like I've been inundated for the last few years of other people's versions of this, I'll stitch her. I mean, she's beautiful. I like her. I have no desire to stitch her right now because there's just so many out there. It just kind of, I'm just not in the mood. Not in the mood to stitch her myself. I see her often enough. Miss Dancing Flower, I'd rather stitch her before, sorry, there's like more shadow now. I feel like the light's shifting a little bit. I've been sitting here for hours. So of course the light's shifting. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna move you a little. I don't know if that's any better. I think I would do I have her kitted up also. I think I would do Miss Dancing Flower before Princess Eliana, just because it's different. It's like, I feel it has a very similar feel. Like super colorful vibrancy, but it's different. It's not the one that I've seen done a million times. I'm actually not sure I've seen any whips of this. I don't know. This is MD 170, Miss Dancing Flower. Whew. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just kicked you. Or rather, the stand that my camera is on. Lady of Mystery. I'm a huge fan of. I've seen some people converting her dress also. Super, super pretty. she's just fun. She's different. Like, I don't feel like Nora does a lot of, like, dark, meaning, like, thematically dark kind of pieces. I mean, there's, like, a few in there, a bit more, but this one is like, ooh, Lady of Mystery. I like that. And she's, like, very simple stitch. I mean, there's not much to her. You could certainly convert that dress to whatever your favorite, you know, DMC range, or I guess if you wanted to, like, stitch a Mirabilia in silks or something, like, this would be a great one to do because there's just not that much to her, not that many colors. I say that, I should look. Yeah, there's really not that many colors. Moonflowers, you've seen from me recently. This is the one that I started on my Stitch With Me. This is MD 137. In case you haven't watched my other stash dive videos, I have said because I do forget to give the number sometimes, if you need to know any more information about one, if you need the number, feel free to message me or ask in the comments below, and I will look that information up for you, but you also could just Google it. But I'll look it up for you if you want it. So Moonflowers, I love her. Definitely on a different fabric. Well, I had a whole fabric saga. If you want to hear about it, you go watch my Stitch With Me #1. Well, it's the only one I have up so far. I love the purples and blues, and then the fuchsia in there just is stunning. My daughter really loves that one. There's lots of, like, bling, lots of beads, so. Forest Goddess is on my must-do one-day list. These colors are not accurate. Not accurate colors. This is actually, like, green. Her cape thing. Not accurate colors. Go pull the DMCs if you want to see what she's actually going to look like. I think those shades must just not photograph well, because even some people's finishes, I feel like, photograph looking a little bit like this, but every once in a while you see one and you're like, oh, there's green, like green in that. I love her. She's just Forest Goddess, MD 87. She's so sweet. I love the flowers, the beads, the dress, the way things are draping and hanging. I think she's lovely. Don't know when I'm going to start her, but she's kitted up. Venetian Opulence. I know I have kitted up. I'm not sure if I've put any stitches in yet. I'd have to look that up. I like her too. She's great. She's also huge. She's on 32 count. She's only 8 3/4 inches wide, but she's 21 3/4 inches tall. She's big. But I really, really like her. I love the fan she's holding, and just those shades in the dress. They're just, how does Nora put together, I mean, I have no, like, I can copy a chart. That's easy, right? I can follow instructions. I can't come up with the stuff on my own. Like, how does she, I feel like if I were to try to put these colors together, it would end up looking like garish and very, like, juvenile and amateurish. Nora doesn't, and it's like those colors were meant to be together. They look amazing. Nora, thank you. You don't know me, and you probably will never know I exist, but Nora, you have brought so much joy, like just so many unending hours of joy and fun to my life, and I know to other people's lives. So if by some weird happenstance you end up watching this part of this video, Nora, thank you. You have made a difference in people's lives. You have added happiness and joy to the world, and that is not a small thing. So thank you, Nora. Okay, that's soapbox over. All right, Rose Celebration. I feel like I need to stitch because she looks, I've seen whips of this, like pictures of whips, and they look so much better than this picture. This photo to me somehow looks like dulled, like kind of washed out. But then when you see even a picture of a whip, it looks so much more, like there's so much more life to it. So I feel like this one needs to be on my to stitch list. She's tall. On 32 count, she's 24 inches tall. So you would, unless you're okay with really small margins, you would need to buy a fat half, even on 32 count, just to fit her height. That's crazy. I might copy this one and kit this one up. That could be really fun. That could be really fun because I think she's going to look a lot better in real life. And you don't see her very much. If I didn't say, it's MD23, Rose Celebration. I'm going to set her aside. Blooming Bride, I've seen a whip of, and again, it looked much better. And I think it's largely that fabric. I think when I look at this photo, just that dark kind of brown fabric makes the whole thing feel kind of dark. And she looks very snooty. She looks like a bridezilla. Very snooty to me. But I feel like my whole mood of the piece has been affected by that like dark background. And I think picking something else could end up completely shifting the feel of the piece, potentially. Blooming Bride, it's number 18. This is a really early one, 1996. It's very pretty. Definitely not your typical bridal gown, which I love. Like, I love that it's different than the typical. Not that there's anything wrong with a typical dress. Circle of Friends, I have kitted up. I really like this one. Oh, just like the freedom that's evoked by these three figures, like dancing around with those flowers. And just the color choice of their dresses with the contrasting flower color, it's just beautiful. Don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I really love it. This is MD101. Circle of Friends. So pretty. She should design one that's like Circle of Enemies. See what that looks like. I mean, three people in a circle who want to hurt each other. Ignore me. I'm getting punchy. I've been... When it takes me a long time to film my next Flosstube, keep in mind that I spent like all of my free time this week filming these stash dive videos. Which is fine. It's fun. But like this would be my stitching time. I'm tired. Does anyone else get tired filming Flosstube videos? It's exhausting. And this is kind of less exhausting than some because like I don't really have to like pull stuff together and like clean up afterwards. Like this is pretty contained. But just like talking for this long. And it's like you're talking twice as much as you would if you were having a conversation because there's no one actually there. So it's just you. It's exhausting. Okay. Sabrina, I love it. I mean, the dress is stunning. For those of you who don't know, and I assume, yeah, she talks about it on screen here. I assume this has got to be based on the dress from Sabrina that Audrey Hepburn wore. Do I have the right Hepburn? It's Audrey, almost positive. And it's a great reproduction of it. I tend to kind of forget about this one. And then like even just a couple days ago, I was just scrolling through something and a picture of Audrey Hepburn in that dress from Sabrina popped up. And then I was like, I have to stitch this. It's such a good representation of like the feel of that dress. And I know at the time, so I feel like Nora, I mean, I wouldn't say she's designed any women who are like overweight, but I do feel like she has designed women of slightly different body types. Like, you know, she's definitely designed people who are enormously petite. Oh my God, Queen Mariposa. Good Lord. Like, that's like no waist. But she's also designed women who I feel like have larger frames, who have that more like statuesque and significant frame. Not overweight, but you know, just I don't know, more to them. This one, I remember at the time there being a lot of complaint about how tiny this waist was. And there's a few that she's done, like Queen Mariposa, where like they seem like maybe not okay skinny, but you know, super skinny is a body type too. And you look at Audrey Hepburn in that dress. I mean, it looks like Audrey Hepburn in that dress. And she's a blonde instead of a brunette, but that was Audrey Hepburn's body type. So Anyway, that's Sabrina. MD106. Do you have that one kitted up? I went through a period during pandemic where really like I was going through and at least getting like specialty materials together and matching a fabric to a chart, getting the specialty materials together, especially if I had some of them already in my stash. You know, like a pack of beads left over that maybe I only used 10 beads on a chart or something, and I still have basically a full pack or whatever. All right, Tree of Hope, I have the specialty materials for. I have it at least partially kitted up. I love this one. It gives me like an Art Nouveau feel, which I love. Don't know when I'm going to get to it. It's not on my immediate radar. This is MD109, but I really, really like it. I love the way the water lilies, there's 4 water lilies called for in this one, and I love the way they play with each other. I think it'd be kind of nice too. Like the figures in this aren't very big, so I feel like it almost would, the whole piece is the size of like a big Mirabilia, but the figures would feel a little bit more like stitching like the smaller Nora Corbett. Is it Tree of Hope? Peony Garden, I love. And this one has 10 water lilies in it. I have this one kitted up. I know, actually I think I've put stitches in. She is at my cabin. So she's not something I'm planning on getting done anytime soon, but I love her. Love those colors together. The water, there's just so many water lilies. It's so, I love stitching with water lilies. I love stitching with silk. I would love Nora to release a design done in all silks. I mean, that would be crazy expensive. Or even if she did like a smaller, like a Nora Corbett. I've converted a couple to all, like some of the small Nora Corbetts that don't have that many colors. I've converted a couple and I haven't gotten very far on them, but it's really fun to stitch like the whole thing in silks. I would love for her to do that. I mean, it would be great if she did do it, if she included like a DMC conversion, right? Because that would be cost prohibitive for a lot of people to try to stitch a whole big design in silks, but I'd love to do it. English Roses, my photo is upside down. Clearly the photo must have come out at some point, and when I put it back in, I put it back in upside down. This was bought 75% off. This is old. This is MD14 from 1995. Now this is the one, and I've seen some whips and some finishes of this on Instagram. This one has ribbon embroidery in it. And I've done a tiny bit of ribbon embroidery. I took an embroidery class years ago that had some silk ribbon embroidery with it. But I don't see this one done often, and I don't know if that's just because it's a bit atypical for what we think of as a Mirabilia. Like it's not the whole figure, or if the fact that you need to be brave enough or foolish enough or whatever enough to be willing to do that. I mean, you got to source the ribbon. Let's see. YLI silk ribbon. So they give you like specific instructions for what that ribbon is and whatnot, but you have to be able to get a hold of it and be willing to work out how to use it. I think I'm going to put this one aside because I'd like to see if those YLI ribbons are even still available and maybe pick them up if they are. Lenovo Sampler. This one I have as a whip on more of like a natural linen. I did not pick linen that's quite that dark. And it's fun to stitch. I haven't gotten super far. I think I've done some like over, done some of the greens up and like over, and I think that top butterfly and maybe a little bit of the border here around the central figure. But she's fun. She's a pretty relaxing stitch. I pick her up every once in a while. Oh, here's Duchess of Rouen. Why is she not with, I'm going to have to put her with Baker's Wife. I have to put her with Baker's Wife. Duchess of Rouen. This is MD 168. So this basically goes with Baker's Wife. I mean, I assume. I said when I first saw Baker's Wife, I was like, what? but she, like, the idea grew on me, especially after I looked up the story and stuff. So when I saw Duchess of Rouen, I definitely didn't have such a reaction because I kind of glad there's two of them. I feel like that makes them both make more sense. But she's pretty too. I mean, she gives me that, like, Tula Pink Parisfil vibe, which I'm not going to explain again. If you want to know who Tula Pink is or what I'm talking about, go back, watch Stash Dive Part 2, maybe? Part 1? I don't know. You can go look. But she gives me that same, you know, Marie Antoinette vibe. So set her aside so I can make sure I put her where she goes with, oh my God. I'll find it later. Apparently at some point we're going to do a giveaway. Wow. So you're seeing it live, folks. Well, not live, but apparently I bought more copies of The Baker's Wife than I realized. I'm not going to talk about it again, but you can see them together. Duchess of Rouen was MD 168, Baker's Wife, MD 166, and yet again I have more copies of a chart than I thought. Awesome. Are you kidding me? What? It's not in the correct place. Maybe that's the problem. Because it wasn't in, like, the right section. So if I went looking in my fairy section and couldn't find it, I was like, what happened to my chart? I guess I never bought it. Oh my God, I need to buy another one. What the heck? Excuse me while I get out. Where did I put Baker's Wife? I need to get Baker's Wife out of here. My extra copy. Where is she? Ugh. I can't believe I did that again. Ugh, ugh, ugh. Please bear with me a moment. I want to get the extra out of here while I'm thinking about it. If I can. I don't even remember where she was. Goodness gracious. I'm not the only silly human being out there, right? She's not back there. Where is she? She's not with the fairies. She was with the stories. That's where she was. Like fairy tale story creatures. Okay, bear with me. Perhaps some future giveaways. I don't know, some of you might be like screaming at me that like I'm a moron or wasteful. Some of you might be laughing your butts off. Some of you might be laughing so hard you're crying because you've done exactly the same thing. I don't know, but whatever reaction you're having, enjoy it. Humanizing moment maybe for some of us. It happens. If I'm gonna overbuy something, let it be Mirabilia's. I'm happy to support Nora Corbett to the best of my ability because she's given a lot to my life. Okay. Starlet. So this is one of those that is a, like just a fancy lady with no like background kind of stuff. And so she's not one of my favorites. I don't know if I'll actually end up stitching her. And the back needs to grow on me. The way the shadowing's done on the back, I've looked at photos and so it's not that it's inaccurate. Like it's very accurate, but somehow it's coming across as feeling very awkward to me. But regardless, very pretty dress. MD 172. This is one of the more recent Mirabilias. Queen Bee. This is one that came out relatively recently, and I've seen a few whips of, and I totally stole somebody's idea. This is MD 171. Well, I like stole their idea and trying to make it my own. I've only started her like barely. I haven't done much on her. I converted her and I'm stitching her in blue. I like the idea of the blue and the yellow more than the red and the yellow. Yeah, so I converted her. Hopefully she ended up looking good. She, like I said, I've started her, but she's not a priority for me, so I'm not sure when she'll be done. Oh, so many more to go. Deco Spirits, I have kitted up. Have not done. This is another one of those that calls for number 8 braid. Don't get number 8 braid. Get number 4 braid. This is MD 19. I love this. I love the Art Deco style of them. Who is it? I think Matt, NBC Stitcher, I think is stitching these, but I think he's stitching them like separately. I don't see this done very often, but I really like it. But those are like each, like individually, they're full coverage. It says each design on 32 count is 4 4/5 inches by 6 inches. Really nice though. I love them. I feel like there's almost something for everybody with Mirabilias. Almost. Maybe not reproduction samplerists, but there's just so many, like, somehow they're all Mirabilia style, but there's still like a lot of different styles within. I don't know if I'm making any sense. But people, you know, there's a lot of different people could end up, you know, wanting to stitch. Savannah's Curtsy. So lately I'm finding this is happening to me. So this one was never one of my favorites. Like, her head's down and I feel like you don't get a great shot of her dress. But lately there's a lot of them that I'm like, it's not my favorite, but I suspect it looks a lot better in person. And so I kind of want to stitch it just to see what it looks like in real life. And this is one of those for me. It has very few specialty materials. So very recently I kitted her up, at least like the specialty stuff, and thought maybe I want to play around with it. I don't know if I want to not do the floor, maybe, or I don't know. But I thought I might pull some of her DMC and get her started and see where it goes, and just pick a fun fabric or something to do her on. And again, this is one that calls for number 8 braid. Don't get number 8. I mean, you can. You don't have to do what I tell you to do. But I would suggest getting number 4 braid instead of number 8 braid if you can find it in those colors. So Savannah's Curtsy, that's MD 36. Blossom Harvest, I have kitted up, and it's a whip that I keep at my cabin. She's just pretty. She, for some reason, reminds me of Scent of Old Roses. I just love her. I feel like she's at some sort of like summer county fair, old-fashioned something. She just kind of makes me happy. And hunting, there's a lot of treasures and a lot of beads. And I waited a very long time to get the treasures. I waited so long that actually not that long ago, 123 Stitch emailed me to say, we finally got your treasures back in stock. I was waiting for these up here. We finally have them back in stock. Do you really still want them? And of course I did, because it's not like I finished it in the intervening months. So I haven't even been working on it. But I started, I think, in like the middle of her dress here. I have a little bit done. She'll get done one day. Knock on wood. The Dreamer, I have as a whip. I'm a little uncomfortable with it. I'm doing it on like a gray-blue fabric with what for me are very narrow margins. I'm a little nervous, but doing it anyway. I just love the fabric for it, and it's a fabric I feel like I'm actually going to find a lot of other good uses for, so I want to try to make it work. But she's very pretty. I love the flowers, the blue flowers, kind of interlapping in her hair. This is MD number 8. a very early one from 1994. And I always get her confused with, this is the Dreamer. Enchanted Dreamer is a fairy that I have stitched. And I always want to call my fairy the Dreamer, and it's not. Now I've probably just confused all of you, and I apologize. Garden Verses, I'm keeping this one out. I've been meaning to come find this one for a while so I can have a photocopy made. Definitely don't have 2 copies. This one's long out of print. I think it's very hard to find. It doesn't have the number on it, but it's from 1994. I've seen people do some really interesting things with this one. I saw somebody, probably on Instagram, who like stitched a whole garden in the background. I think they took like a chart from like Dimensions or something for like garden and like filled in the background with garden. I'm not planning on doing that, but I will probably pick more of like a gray-blue fabric, or maybe even greenish, like gray for the background. Just need to make sure the pedestals and the railing will still show up. But really, really like her. That's Garden Verses. I'm really sorry if you guys are watching this, like making lists of Mirabilias you want to stitch, and like none of them are available. That would stink for you, and I'm sorry. But a lot of them do come up on the secondary market, so just keep an eye out. Please don't message me and ask me for my charts. I'm not giving you my charts. I will do giveaways in future videos, but I'm not giving away my like single copies of things. I really, oh, I just got a notice, community posts unlocked. I don't know what that means. That was like a YouTube notification. Apparently community posts have been unblocked. I have no idea what that means, but I'll figure it out. Okay, Miss Cherry Blossom. I've been itching to get back to this one recently. Probably not till it's done, but maybe to do a little bit more of. I've just done a little bit at the top. I think like maybe your shoulder and up to the umbrella. I haven't done much at all, but I'm really enjoying her. I don't know if I'm thrilled. I had a hard time coming up with a good fabric choice for her. Now that I'm looking at her, I feel like maybe I should have picked a like grayish green background, but I think I have the pink. I don't know that I have touch of pink, but which is what's called for, but I think I have like a pinkish background. I don't know. I've just been itching to get back to her. Not sure why. Garden Prelude, I think a lot of people love. I've seen people working on this. I know Stitch and Mommy. Sorry, I'm like waving things around. Stitch and Mommy is working on this. I've seen some people stitch just the violinist. This is MD 165. I think she's stunning. I have her kitted up, but she's not on my immediate radar to work on. So off topic. I wanted to play the violin as a kid. I don't know why. I've always been fascinated by the violin and like fiddle music, which, you know, same thing, played a different way. I always wanted to know how to play the violin. I didn't want to be like in an orchestra or, you know, make it my profession. It was just a skill like I wanted to have. And when you're like in elementary school and people get to start taking instruments and lessons and stuff, and I really wanted to play the violin, and I was told no. It was one of those crushed dreams I had as a child that stayed with me for a long time. So as an adult, maybe a year or so before the pandemic, I started taking violin lessons. And I encourage okay, now I'm really off topic. All of you adults out there who think you're too old to do things, you're not. Go do what you want to do. I had to wait 30 years to start learning how to play the violin. So what? I'm not too old. I went and started learning how to play the violin. Now, pandemic ended lessons, and I haven't practiced in ages, but I'm really proud of myself and really happy that I chose to do that, that I reached the point where I was like, I'm an adult. I'm going to stop like being sad that I never learned to play the violin, and I'm going to go learn to play the violin. Don't ever think you're too old to play, or just have fun, or do something for you, or something you want to do. If there's something like that you want to do, go do it. Okay, I'll get off that soapbox now. Maybe I should name like change the name of my channel to like advice you didn't want or something. Okay, back to Mirabilia. Garden Prelude. Did I say which number it is? MD 165. She's beautiful. And I think Stitch and Mommy said, I haven't looked at the chart closely enough, but I think she said like all those flowers are beads. So I think she pulled different hand-dyed, or are they water lilies? No, they're not. Well, they're water lilies or something. So instead of, they might be the water lilies. Or I don't know, they're water lilies, beads, or something. But she replaced those because those are just little flower heads, and there's lots of pretty ways to make the flower petals other than the relatively expensive way they tell you to in the chart. All right. I'm going to pull out what I think is the end. So I think, yes, I have a few Bella Filipinas here. And my Passione Ricamo charts, which I don't think she's doing much designing anymore. But, so there's a few other things at the end, which I'm going to have to find someplace else for soon, because I'm definitely running out of room. I am not the most organized. You know, I'm gonna put the Bella Filipina charts up there, because I have some up there. So, okay. Whew. Still with me? I haven't even gotten to the mermaids. Haven't even gotten to the mermaid section. Some of you are going to have a lot of fun with this last video. We go through all the mermaids. All right, Ophelia. This is one of my copies that I'm keeping for myself. MD 175. She does look a little, at first I was like, that's awkward. But the more I look at her, the more she's like, her body position's making sense to me, and I really like her. I am using the original, the called for fabric, because I feel like that fabric, I mean, not enough people have finished her for me to judge how she'll look on a hand-dyed. But like that fabric's color is meant to play with the other colors around her as like the swampy water. And so I felt like it was kind of the only choice I felt comfortable making. But I have her as a whip that I've barely started. Lady Alexandra, I only bought recently. She's not my favorite. Something about like her shoulder and neck position, I'm not in love with. But typically, if a Mirabilia comes out and I'm not in love with it, wait a few years. And not only has it grown on me, I really want to stitch it. And it reached a point recently where I was like, well, I have almost every single Mirabilia chart. If I don't buy the stinking chart, I'm going to end up deciding that like, this is the one and only one that I want to stitch. So I better buy the chart while I can. So I bought it. It's MD 115, Lady Alexandra. I don't intend to stitch it, but like I said, give me a few years and it might end up being my favorite. My dog is back. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, Botanical Garden. I have as a whip, but I only worked on it for a couple days, so I don't have much done on her. I couldn't even tell you what fabric I'm stitching her on. It's a blur. She's MD 177. She's pretty. She's different. I like when I'm kind of surprised. Although I say that, I would love to see like a traditional, I want a fairy. Nora, can we have a fairy next? I feel like it's been a while. And I really want a fairy. Snow Maiden, I'm in love with, and I definitely kitted up because there's lots of those water lilies make up, I feel like, a fundamental part of her dress, and I'm not sure you could achieve the same look without the water lilies as they are. So I made sure to I don't know that I bought all the beads, I probably did, but I definitely bought the water lilies because I feel like that would be more than a little difficult to sub out. Sorry, my dog has decided to join me and lay down. Snow Maiden, one of the most recent, 179. Oh my God, she's really moving you guys around. I'm sorry. She's laying down in front of me. I wonder if Nora's going to do something really big and special for the 200th. I don't even know what that would be. I know at least for a while there, people were really clamoring for her to do more men. And word of mouth at one point was that she'd said she's not going to. I don't know if that's true or not. don't know what could she do for like a super special 200th design. I don't know that she would, because she didn't do, I don't think, something special for the 100th, but she did Lady Mirabilia for the 25th anniversary. Oh, my dog's wanting attention. I don't know. If you have a good idea, let me know. I'm just curious what other people think would make for a really good, like, celebratory 200th design from her. Night Nymph and Day Nymph. So these are stitched in Valdanis, and I've stitched with Valdanis before. I like them. I don't mind having, like, they're expensive to, like, kit up, you know, a fancy floss as opposed to just a DMC. I don't mind doing that, though, partly because I enjoy the Valdani threads, but also when I am stitching a small, I typically won't use the called for. I'll just grab flosses that I love and enjoy and pull from that to stitch something. So it just, you know, whatever's left over will get used in smalls and things. I also sometimes use them for like embroidery and wool applique and stuff. So I don't really mind. But Day Nymph and Night Nymph, or no, Night Nymph and Day Nymph. I'm trying to keep my dog from licking inside my mouth. Oh, so they, at least at one point, were selling, like, I think it was like a combined Valdani and bead pack. And I ordered them from a shop, I don't know, like a year ago or something. Sorry if you can hear my iPad dinging. And I'm still waiting. And the shop owner is totally nice. She's messaged and been like, do you want to keep waiting? Like, Valdani just is not supplying the stuff. And it's not like I need them desperately. So I was like, yeah, I'll just keep waiting. And hopefully it'll show up at some point. Okay. We're on to basically the last section. Aphrodite Mermaid, which I started very recently and did very little of. I think I got like one strand in like the middle of the tail. I think my dog's trying to tell me that I'm not giving her enough attention today. Yeah, Aphrodite Mermaid, she's MD 144, and of course, gorgeous. Love her. Trying to stay organized. Renaissance Mermaid, I have as a whip, and I've put a lot of work in on. She's not like almost done or anything, but she's significantly worked on. She's got a lot done. Very pretty. A lot of people have done her. Okay, here's the mermaid. Apparently, these videos are not only a Mirabilia stash dive, but rants on racism. Mermaid with a culturally insensitive name. We just call her that red and orange mermaid in this house. If you want to know what I'm talking about, go watch Stash Dive video number 2. I'm not going to go back through the whole thing. For those of you who have watched Stash Dive video number 2, it's a mermaid. And it's beautiful. I love it. I love the like scene behind it. It's she's done several mermaids that have like stuff around them, but I feel like each one is different. There's a lot of variety in her mermaids. And I really, really like this one. It is a whip. Mermaid Undine, I have completed. It is framed and hanging in my middle child's, my son's bedroom. This frame, can I just say, because my framer had this frame, and I used it on something else. I used this frame on something else, Gardenia Fairy. And then, once I had Gardenia Fairy back, and then I went and looked at the cover photo of this for some reason, I was like, oh my god, it's the same frame. And it's made of shell. It's really, like, it's shell. It's really cool. So once I noticed that Mermaid Undine also, like, that the model used this frame, and I really loved the way the frame looked on Gardenia Fairy. It was a Nora Corbett, smaller design. I decided I really wanted to use it on her as well. So, anyway, she has that frame. When I stitched her, I left out the lines. Like, I think I understand what the lines are. Like it's putting edges on the design, and I guess the bottom, like box could be like the ground. I just left them off. I didn't feel a need for those. And yes, I have all of the hard to find, highly sought after old mermaids. And I just do, I'm sorry. But they do come up sometimes on eBay. So here's Deepest Love. I have her kitted up. Not sure when I'll get to her. She's MD 42. Very pretty. Mermaids of the Deep Blue, I also have kitted up. Now she's really popular. She was pretty popular back in the day, and I think I've seen her even recently on the 123 Stitch website. So I think she's still readily available. MD 85. And people have done all kinds of conversions to these tails and like to make them different and stuff. Waiting for Ships is one of my favorite. I have it kitted up. I have not done it yet. This is MD 35. I definitely started my Mirabilia life as a fairy person. In love with the fairies. Couldn't care less about the mermaids. Just fairy, fairy, fairy. It took a little while, but the mermaids did grow on me. And thankfully, they grew on me early enough that I was able to actually buy these charts. This is Waiting for Ships. It's fun. Like, this one's only $10. Like, you can kind of tell when you bought it, depending on how much it cost. Because the prices have gone up. Mermaid of the Pearls, I have as a whip. So I actually have it, so I started this very early, relatively early in my stitching life. She was the first Mirabilia mermaid that I started, and I think I wasn't feeling up, you know, Kreinik has a bad rep, and I like kind of wasn't feeling up to it, and so I converted the Kreiniks out of it. And so I have some significant work on a version of her where I tried to keep the colors the same, but using DMC and not Kreinik. I'd like to stitch her as called for also, so I've also kitted her up with like the called for Kreiniks and things. I think some of the beads or treasures are no longer available, and so I think I only have like the beads and treasures to finish one of them, and I'd have to convert it for the other one. I say the called for Kreiniks, I mean the called for Kreinik colors. This is another one that calls for the number 8 braids, and you know, unless the color's not available as a number 4, I get the number 4 braids. Merchant Mermaid isn't like my favorite mermaid, but I liked it and I started it, and it was like once I started I couldn't stop. I did eventually stop, but I put some significant work in on this one, and I'd like to finish her. The more I work on her, the more I like her. Now I am going to stitch her. I really went back and forth on whether to stitch her with the Mill Hill and the symbol down here, and I ultimately decided not to. So I am counting. I'm not formally recharting it. It's not a huge area that I need to fill in of the tail down here. I'm counting on being able to wing it when I get down to that part of the tail, and we'll see how it goes. And if memory serves, there's a lot of water lilies called for here, but some of them I think are only used up here in the Mill Hill sign. So if you're kitting her up, you might want to take a look at, it might even be the same with some of the beads and things for the down here. Take a look at what is called for where. So if you're not stitching all of it, because I've seen lots of people not stitch like the words or this, just take a look at what's actually called for the version you want to stitch, because you might not have to buy all the supplies. Merchant Mermaid is MD 117. Bluebeard's Princess has always been one of my favorite Mirabilias. I do have her as a whip, although I don't have much done on her. She's MD 98. That hair is just amazing. I love the colors in this to begin with, but the hair in particular I just think is incredible. Really, really love this one. I remember when this one came out, it was one of the first mermaids that made me really be like, oh, I think I do like mermaids. Like, that's nice. I really like her. Queen Mermaid. Does anybody else call this one Queen Mermaid? I mess that up all the time, because this one, which is Enchanted Mermaid, looks like one of the queens. She's like, has that very regal air and like that queen pose. But this one is Queen Mermaid. And yeah, this one came out first. And she's also stunning. She's one of my favorite mermaids. I love her. I just, something about the way like the seaweeds wrapped around her, I think she's stunning. I love the color of her tail. So I'm guessing she'd already used the name Queen Mermaid, or she would have called this one Queen Mermaid. I don't know. But it's like, I'm pretty good at getting it now, but like for a decade or more, I could not remember the name of this one because I thought the other one should be called Queen Mermaid. That's Queen Mermaid. This one's Enchanted Mermaid. This is MD84. This one's stunning. There's several people who have stitched it or are in the process of stitching it. I believe Belinda the Aussie Stitcher. Did she finish hers? I can't remember offhand. And also I get confused because I'll find somebody who, like, I'll watch someone's video, especially over the last like couple of years, pandemic time. I'll find somebody's like current video and then I'll go back to the beginning and start watching. So like the most recent video I might have watched of somebody might be 3 years old. And so yeah, I get confused about who's actually doing what when. So I don't remember if she's finished this, but it's beautiful. My husband kitted this up for my birthday about a year ago because it takes a ton of beads and treasures. There's a little bit of Krynic, no water lilies, but I think the beads and treasures cost over $100. I think. They're expensive. I have her all kitted up. It's not started yet, but she's kitted up and ready to go. Emerald Mermaid. She's a saga. She's MD77. She was the first model of a mermaid that I saw, and I really, really loved how she looked on the model. I'm stitching her as kind of an experiment on a navy blue fabric to see how that'll look. I talked about that more in another Flosstube. I'm not going to go through it all here again. I'm hoping to be done sometime in the next 30 minutes. But anyway, so I have her as a whip. I also have her kitted up on some lighter, more like traditional hand-dyed fabric that I might stitch her on at some point too. We'll see. South Seas Mermaid, I have kitted up. I've always loved her. She's soft and beautiful. And I have her kitted up with a hand-dyed, but I actually kind of like the way she looks on this traditional fabric too. She's beautiful. I love the pinks and like oranges and the corals. My leg's falling asleep. My dog decided in a bid for attention to fall asleep on my lap, and now my leg's falling asleep. And I'm getting weirder shadows. I apologize. Thank you, Miss Freya. Good girl. Shimmering Mermaid. So this one, I don't like that shadow. Shimmering Mermaid. I'm going to try to shift a little bit. I don't know if that'll help. Right. Just pardon me for a moment while I move you. Is that better? It's kind of better. You can see my spinning wheel. But like, you're getting to see my mess from all kinds of angles today. Shimmering Mermaid. I love her because her tail reminds me of a patchwork quilt, and I'm also a quilter. I have her as a whip. I don't know if I'll stitch the whole thing that goes all the way around, but I will stitch this. I really like her. I'm going to move these so I don't have to keep reaching behind me. Shimmering Mermaid was MD71. Mediterranean Mermaid is MD102. I have her as a whip. I know there's been lots of discussion about whether she belongs like this or like this. I say put her however you want. I decided I would enjoy stitching her the most in this way. And that's mostly because I prefer a chart. If the chart's cut in half, I just find it easier to go top to bottom than like one side to one side. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you. Ask me a question about it if you want me to explain further. I thought, especially because there's lots of, I think it's easier to stitch a thin, long arc of a color than maybe like a really wide and narrow, wide and short, like wave of a color. So I decided to stitch it this way. And then I was stitching it probably for my daughter. I figured when we go get it framed, I'll just ask her if she wants it done this way or this way. I couldn't care less which way it gets hung up. Mermaid of Atlantis was certainly very popular there for a while, very pretty. I have it as a whip. I worked some on her skin and hair, I believe, but not in my immediate plans to do a lot on. Twin Mermaids, I have at least partially kitted, but have not started it. So at our cabin, we really like, there's a river very nearby, and we spend a lot of time swimming in the river, going stand-up paddleboarding in the river, that sort of thing. It's a very small, shallow river most of the time. My kids can walk across it most of the summer, like still touching the bottom. It's pretty safe, but as rivers go. So I kind of like have this idea of having mermaids just all, like, because we enjoy the water so much while we're there. I have this idea of just having mermaids everywhere in our cabin. I gotta get working on that. Siren in the Shipwreck. Sorry, getting texts. Distracting. This Siren in the Shipwreck, I really like her. She's got so much bling, especially in that chandelier. I'm excited about getting to the chandelier, but I don't believe I've started her yet. I have her kitted up, but have not started. Lilith of Labrador, I love that she looks non-human. You know, that even she's got kind of grayish skin, and her face is, it's dramatic. You know, like it's still like humanish, but more dramatic. Really like her. I kitted her up right away, but haven't actually started. Just, you know, I got lots going on. Hope to get to her at some point. Echo Lake, I love, and I hope one day to stitch, but that's a lot of stitching. So I have no immediate plans to work on that. I feel like I could stitch 2 other Mirabilias in the time it would take me to stitch this one. It looks stunning. You know, I've seen other people's whips and it's amazing. But it is not in my immediate plans. This is MD 174. Mermaid Perfume, I love. I hope to stitch this one sooner rather than later. That tail is just amazing. And, you know, some people have done conversions on it that look incredible too, but I would stitch her just as charted. Well, I love teal anyway. It's like totally my favorite color, but that tail, it's like I can see it moving in the like the ocean current. It's just luscious and beautiful, and like you can see the movement in it. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Really love it. And like the pale, like purpley blue shades and the pink at the top, they just go so nicely. It's like simple, but I really, really love it. MD 173. Almost done. Twisted Mermaids. I'm a big fan. Now, I'm missing something from my stack here. She also came out with a design with 3 mermaids. I bet I have it over on my sewing table and haven't put it in yet. Okay, well, let me talk about this first. This is Twisted Mermaids, MD 176, which is beautiful, and I love it. It came out, and I was thrilled. But then what, like the next week, she came, or next month, next release, I think, was the 3 mermaids that are on the same color palette. And I was like, and that kind of like, I was just surprised. Not even so much that they looked similar, because she does sometimes have designs that are similar to each other, but to have 2 such similar designs, like back to back, surprised me. And I'm sorry I don't have that one. on hand. I'm going to find where I put it though. That's almost it. Okay, so that's like all the Mirabilias. There's a few I don't own at all. There's the 2 patriotic pieces, the Lady of the Flag and Queen of Freedom, that I don't have like a good chart of, so I don't have those to show you. I need to figure out about February Fairy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch part 1. Although I looked at it like last night and I'm like, I can't, like I Googled and I'm not seeing a result for the February Fairy, so maybe I mistakenly thought she'd finished that series. If she hasn't, that means we're still waiting on a February Fairy from her. Like a February whatever the stone is. Please somebody tell me. I'm hoping I'm wrong and I've just stashed that chart somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe I should hope maybe I should hope she hasn't done it yet, because that would mean hopefully there's another fairy coming. Because I do love the fairies. I just don't know. I need to find the more recent mermaid chart, because I know that's around here somewhere. I have it kitted up. I can find it. I've pulled out a handful to get copies of and maybe kit up. I'm going to do Garden Verses, English Roses. I want to at least see if I can get those ribbons. Rose Celebration. Some of these have dust bunnies on them. My Lady's Garden and Queen of Peace. So the other thing, this might be news to some of you. I don't think it'll be news to all of you, but it might be news to some of you. Let's see if I can, there's no cover picture for these. So a few years back, she being Nora Corbett, did like a mystery stitch along thing called Wherefore Art Thou? This is the art from it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, start screenshotting. This is the name of a cross-stitch store, I believe in Italy. If you don't know about this and you love Mirabilia, please pay attention. You will lose your mind. This is going to be so fun for you. So I believe Nora has done like on-site like stitch retreats there, and I don't know. I don't know the details of it, but this is a set. There's 3 charts, and they don't come. I don't remember at the time who I got them from. If you want to get them now, I think your only possible option is going to be this shop, the Casa Cenina? I don't know. I had no Italian. No idea. So it's in 3 parts. And I don't remember if I was able to get these, because this was several years ago. I don't remember if I was able to get these from a US store or if I had to order them from Italy. They don't come in the normal, sorry, it's blowing that out. They don't come in the normal Mirabilia things. They're in these envelopes. There's no cover picture because I believe it was a mystery. I don't think you can get it anymore, but there's a purple, I think there was a picture here. There's like there was this really dramatic purple bead that the figure, this is just part of the watercolor artwork, that the figures that's hanging down. If you want to see the full, I know there's pictures on the internet. Google Nora Corbett or Mirabilia, Wherefore Art Thou? And you'll be able to see pictures of it stitched up. And if you want the charts, I don't know that they're still available, but if they are, I believe it would be through Casa something I can't pronounce. And I feel bad that I don't know how to pronounce that, but I just don't. And they have a pretty good website. So if it's available, I would think it would be through them. I would try there first. They might even have it as a digital download. I'm not positive though. So there's some other charts that Nora has done that you can get through Casa something that I can't pronounce as digital downloads. She has, oh, I hope I'm gonna get this right, and they're on this phone that I'm filming off of, so I can't just look it up. There's like an angelic statue design that I think she did as a, I heard through the grapevine, I'm not sure how accurate this is, that it was part of like a fundraiser after some earthquakes in Greece a few years ago, maybe. And there's also another, it's called Erezzo. It's another Juliet-esque piece that's a bit smaller, I think, than Wherefore Art Thou. And you can get those as downloads. They're kind of annoying downloads, in my opinion. You can't really print them. And they're, I think at least one of them is like hand-drawn, and you have to blow it up, and it's hard to read. I don't remember if this Wherefore Art Thou, which is stunning, I don't remember if it is available as a digital download or not. But if you go to Casa whatever, you'll be able to figure it out and see what they have available. But there's a few like designs in there from Nora that aren't published in the US. They're not readily available. They're not distributed by Wilshult. If you don't know to go look there, or if you don't like obsessively Google Mirabilia and look for random information like I apparently do, you have no idea that like this shop in Italy exists, or that you can get cool stuff from them. One fun thing about this Wherefore Art Thou is that it's charted in both, like it has, it's charted in weeks, like all weeks. There's also a DMC conversion, so you can stitch it in DMC. Here, I can do this. Here's the floss list. I think it's okay to show the floss list. There's weeks. The week's number and color name. It also gives a DMC, so you do not need to buy however many weeks Dye Works flosses that is. But you can. So if you're a Mirabilia stitcher who also loves, you know, hand-dyed fibers, and you want, kind of like I was saying, I wish you'd do one in all silks, that would be like an option. The one that's, I think, called Erezzo, that I said I think is also, I'm pretty sure is like Girl on a Balcony. I think Erezzo is a town in Italy where they did one of these Mirabilia retreats, I believe. Oh my God, if I was Nora Corbett and some shop in Italy called me and they were like, hey, could you do a design just for a retreat and come spend a week with us in Italy and teach your piece? Oh my God, yes. Yes. That's amazing. Oh, that would be amazing to go to a retreat with Nora. And if the retreat's someplace, you know, amazing, that just would make it even better. So I'm hoping I've just made some of y'all's day. In my head, a lot of you are sitting there watching this being like, what? Mind blown. I had no idea this existed. And you're like Googling and searching. And I'm not getting kickbacks, by the way. I'm not getting anything from this Casa, whatever. But I'm kind of hoping their purchases are going to shoot through the roof, at least from like my viewers. There's not that many of you, but I hope their site gets a lot of traffic, because they're some of the most beautiful pieces. I have them kitted up. The Erezzo I'm going to do, but I want to put, because obviously I didn't go to the retreat in Erezzo, I want to, I've been thinking of different words. I mean, I can do that part last. I haven't even started the stinking piece. But I was thinking of putting a different word in there, like I don't know which one yet, but a trait that I value highly and that I feel like is evoked by the piece. I want to put something like that in there. But I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Like I said, I haven't even started the piece yet. I don't need to decide what words in there. Maybe next time I'll pull pictures up on my iPad and show those of you who haven't gone off to look at it yourself. Okay. I'm going to finish cleaning up now. I'm going to let all of you go. Let's see. Excuse me. I think it's going to end up being, what, about 3 hours? More than 3 hours. Way more than 3 hours. How much is it going to be? have to go back and look. Like an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half. I think it's going to end up being almost 4 hours of me showing charts. And I feel bad that I'm missing a couple. Well, I'm missing, I think the only one we know, so there's a couple I don't own. We know that I'm missing that most recent mermaid. I do not have the one that just came out here in February yet. It's on order, but I don't have it yet. And February Birthstone Fairy. I don't know if it even exists. I'm thinking it must not, and I just mistakenly thought they were all done. Okay. I hope this was fun for you guys. I genuinely do. It was fun for me. It was exhausting. My throat's kind of sore. I'm tired. I think I need to go take a nap before dealing with like children after school and stuff. But this was really fun. This was more fun than just going through my stash on my own. It really was. To really get to like express myself and talk about them. And it definitely, you know, every time I stash dive, it kind of reignites a passion, especially for certain designs. Definitely did that. I feel like it helped clarify in my mind what I want to work, how I want to work on things coming up. I think I need to put in some work on damask roses until I actually want to go back to red. I think that's what I want to do, so I should do it. Just work on damask roses for a bit. My biggest priority is still going to be putting in several hours a week on Princess and the Dragon from Teresa Wensler. And I'm also trying to keep up, although at the moment, this week has not been good, but I'm trying to keep up with the chicken salad quilt, the Lori Holt chicken salad quilt for my son. But as far as stitching goes, and as far as Mirabilia goes, I think I want to, if not finish it, at least like get in a really good chunk of time in progress on damask roses. And then I think I might naturally feel like wanting to go back to red some more. So thank you all. I'm going to go try to upload this. I don't know when it's going to get up though, because I guess I'll wait. Part 1's up. Part 2's uploading as we speak. And when that's done, I'll work on uploading part 3. Kitschy Whips, you dang well. Better watch through to the bitter end. At least once. Oh, I'm getting blown out now. Okay, thanks guys. Go enjoy your day. I hope you had fun and happy stitching. Bye.